something that people don't, like not a lot of people do it. And you'll do well. I'm like sort of an athlete, but what I really want to do is pick athletic events where I'll be better than the competition, it's obvious. And when I went to this professional stair race, the people I was racing to, the median age had to have been 50. And it had to be, whatever. And the median age was probably 50. And the gender distribution was probably 70% female. That said, out of 1,000, I placed 18! Woo! Well, hey, before we get into my talk, can I have two claps for Maze? Thank you. Hey, you know what I thought would be incredible? If the Maze had like the voice, like the promos up for Liam Neeson, if Liam Neeson was doing it. Imagine like, in a world where people keep stealing Liam Neeson's stuff, he comes to UWL, where his daughter is taken and is in the maze. I don't know if that would work, but interesting side note, people keep taking Liam Neeson's stuff, no matter how many times he kicks their butt. That said, I actually joined staff mid-career with a bunch of old people, salespeople, and a bunch of maze people, like 6 of them. All these male maze people, they like are actually legit musicians. One guy was making like 30 grand a week. 30, you hear me? 30, and when I say a week, it's because he did one show a week. And he just do it, I think he was like 15. He was in his parents' basement just like doing card stuff, watching anime. And then just goes out the next 30 grand, you know? And his name was Andrew. I really hope if I get married within like a reasonable time of like our friendship, you know, like, I haven't talked to him about 2 years, but I think that's like a reasonable time to like ask him to come to my wedding for free. 30 grand, it's hard to come by, unless you're him. And that said, they're incredibly talented people. At lacrosse, we packed out this, our hall. Think lacrosse 8,000, Madison 45,000. Think room 1,000, packed, no seats. Leaders had to leave. I think there was 80 some decisions for price, and it was an incredible event. So the maze is going to be exciting, guys. They're going to do a lot of promotion themselves. Bring your friends. It's going to be a blast. That said, I want to get you guys to know me just a little bit, and where do it be good to get to know someone from when they were born. Yeah, that found edge on my grandma's refrigerator. So, when I moved to Madison, one thing you do is you visit family wherever you move, and then you bring out the photo album. So I found this gem. I also found this gem. Yeah, those are Slinky's people. Nothing says I'm going to be a future NBA star / maybe like gangster, like a Slinky when you're 4. That's my brother. I've got a good story with my brother. His name's Michael Peterson. He just like would follow me and do anything I did, which is actually quite unfortunate for him. But so think over like hyperactive, you know, 5th grader. People like ask for someone to like raise their hand, answer a question. I'm like, me, you know, me. And I'm at my friend's birthday party, and the clown is trying to get group participation. And the clown gets lots of group participation from me, right? And he's like, you don't want to do this? I'm like, yeah, me. And one time, he did not choose me. So I had the brilliant idea of becoming a bull. And I started snorting, kicking my foot, and I go like this, no joke. Forward. Mike was behind me. He's ready to do it too. And I charged at 0, you know? And it's all on video. You don't remember these things when you're little, but at my senior graduation, I remember. You know what I had? They invited the whole town. They're like, we got to pay for your college somehow. So they invited like 250 people at my graduation party. I'm not kidding. It's not an over-exaggeration. And on the big screen is Tyler as a bull at 4 years old. So that's me. Hey, but I have a good teacher. And the only way you can really understand why my behavior is so bizarre is really if you understand my father. So seemingly normal, fine. But my dad and I share two very similar qualities. That is a little bit above average self-esteem and a little below average self-awareness. So my dad and my mom met at a bar in Madison. And my dad with my uncle was a UW grad. He was a college football player, or basketball player, and for Bo Ryan was the assistant. And my uncle Don, he's like the coolest thing. He's big 4 inches taller than me and like 6 inches wide. And he was just huge, just cool. He was a junior Olympian when he was in high school. And he's at the bar, like, scoping out the ladies with my dad. And at the bar, as the girls are running, like, my mom starts making fun of them. I think my mom, she looks pretty tall there, but she's soaking wet, probably 100 pounds, and 5'3". And my dad is 6'5". So my mom is sitting there, just taking a break. She's in an MBA program, and overhearing the conversation that Uncle Don and my dad are having with these ladies. And one of the ladies goes, "Do you guys play basketball?" And then my mom starts imitating everything they say. Now, imitation is typically the most sincere form of flattery, but I can assure you, in this situation, it was just pure making fun of my father. So my dad kind of like engaged in conversation with her, and my mom goes, "Oh wait, I know who you guys play for. You're the captain of the chess team." And my dad sees this as a cue to ask her to dance. Natural cue. So low self-awareness, right? High self-esteem. He's not affected by this, and they go up, they dance, and end up going on their first date. First date goes great. Dad picks mom up. Good job, Dad. Mom's surprised to see who's in the passenger seat. Think little niece. You know, her name was Chrissy. She was 5, and it was a total surprise. It was fine. She didn't know what movie they were going to in the beginning. Maybe an adult movie. Wrong. It's my father. We're going to Big Bird's Day Off. And embarrassingly, by the end of the movie, you know, little kids have to use the restroom, right? And my little cousin Chrissy needs to use the restroom. My dad makes sure that my mom knows how to wipe. It gives her the instructions in the theater. If that wasn't a disaster enough, second date, let's go to a movie again. This time, who's in the car? The parents. The parents. My dad wants you to meet the fam. Yeah, and then third date, this is the best one. Bike ride. Thank you, Dad, for stop taking mom to movies. You guys can have a conversation. And once again, mom 100 pounds, Dad 230, 250, I don't know how much he weighs. Dad's bike's chain breaks. No big deal, they're like 3 miles away from home up a hill. And my dad, the chivalrous man that he is, asked my mom if he could ride on the handlebars. Yes, he did, folks. And he did ride on the handlebars. And they're married today. My mom said it was so bizarre, she just needed to have more. That's me. That's my family. And growing up, I was really, like, as that picture said, like, showed, like, of the baby, I was the happiest kid. I would always smile. I would climb into people's laps at a movie theater. Unfortunately, the first person I climbed in the lap was black. I'd never seen a black person before, and I'm 2, I'm in Minnesota. And I take a sip of his Coke, because, again, high self-esteem, low self-awareness. And I look at him, and I look at Mom, and I scream, "He's burned!" No, he's not burned. He's just black. But he smiled and laughed. That's pretty much my childhood. I was a happy kid. People enjoyed me. But something happened. And there began to be a series of tragedies in my life. One of the first ones was Big Uncle Don, supposed to be playing for the Bucks. gets diagnosed with HIV. And so I only have 2 memories of Don, and they were that he was skinny as a pole. He was 75 pounds, I think, 6'7", 6'8". And he died. And not only he died, many people died in my life. Around 5th grade, grandma died, my nanny's baby died, a lot of people died, and I stopped smiling and I stopped being happy. When my brother came to college, when my brother came to college, my friends asked him, what was it like having Tyler's laugh growing up? And they said, Tyler, we can't think of a single time Tyler laughed. My life was serious, and I was deeply disturbed by death, and I wasn't happy. I was picked on. And I ended up in high school saying, you know what? Screw trying to walk with God. I'm just going to hit the party scene. I reinvented myself, and I got drunk a lot, did a lot of drugs, did kind of that life. Enjoyed it, succeeded at it, but really was unhappy. And was an all-around butt. You know, I was prideful. By the end of my high school career, I had no friends because of how I treated people. And what this really points, what I'm trying to illustrate, is that while there's a lot of good things in our lives, a lot of good things about us, we have a dark side. There's a shadow side to us. And while I grew up kind of going to church, I became unfaithful to God and did whatever I wanted to become happy, I guess. A lot of wicked deeds. And if we're going to be honest, you in this room, at times, don't want to obey God. You want to be unfaithful. And in tonight's story, I want us to look to the Old Testament, to someone called Manasseh, king, and learn about what he was like, and really how God responded to him. And the question that the passage is going to beg is, when I do bad things, and when I'm lost, and I don't know God, or I'm a Christian, and I sin, God really loves me. So let's look at the scripture. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign. That's a good idea. He reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to the abominations of the nations whom the Lord drove out before the people of Israel. For he rebuilt the high places that his father Hezekiah had broken down. And he erected altars to the Baals, and he made Asherah, and worshipped all the hosts of heaven and served them, and he built altars in the house. Can't do that. Keep going for me, guys. And he built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord said, in Jerusalem shall my name be forever. And he built altars to all the hosts of heaven in 2 courts of the house of the Lord. And he burned his sons as an offering in the valley of the son of Hinnom. And he used fortune-telling, omens, sorcery, and dealt with mediums and necromancers. He did much evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger. And the carved image of the idol, that he had made, he set in the house of God, of which God said, David and to my Solomon, his son, in his house, and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of the tribes of Israel, I will put my name forever. And I will no more remove the foot of Israel from the land that I have appointed their fathers, only they be careful to do what I have commanded them, all the law, the statutes, the rules given to Moses. Manasseh led Judah and the inhabitants of Israel astray, to do more evil than the nations whom the Lord destroyed before the people of Israel. The Lord spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they paid no attention. Therefore the Lord brought upon them the commanders of the army of Assyria, who captured Manasseh with hooks and bound him with chains of bronze and brought him to Babylon. And when he was in distress, he entreated the favor of the Lord his God and humbled himself greatly before the God of his fathers. He prayed to him, God was moved by his entreaty, and he heard his plea, and brought him again to Jerusalem into his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew that the Lord was God. Afterward, he built an outer wall for the city of David west of Gihon, in the valley and an entrance to the fish gate, and carried it around Ophel, and raised it to a very great height. He also put commanders of the army in all the fortified cities of Judah, and he took away the foreign gods and the idols from the house of the Lord, and all the altars that he had built on the mountain of the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, and he threw them outside of the city. He also restored the altar of the Lord and offered it on its sacrifices of peace offerings and thanksgiving. And he commanded Judah to serve the Lord, the God of Israel. Nevertheless, the people were still sacrificing the high places, going to the Lord their God. Now the rest of the acts of Manasseh, his prayer to God, the words of the seers who spoke to him in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, the whole, they are in the Chronicles of the kings of Israel. And his prayer and how God was moved by his entreaty, and all his sin and faithlessness, and the sites on which he built high places, set up the Asherah and the images before he humbled himself, the whole, they are written in the Chronicles and seers. So Manasseh slept with his fathers, and they buried him in his house. Son in his place. God, would you unpack this scripture for us quickly? Would you impact our lives forever as a result of understanding the cultural context in which how you reveal yourself? In your name. So to understand this passage, you have to understand a couple of things. First, this story is actually somewhere else in the Bible. And it's different. It's not a contradiction, but there's no mention of Manasseh's repentance. It's just, Manasseh's a bad dude, don't be like Manasseh. And that is because Kings was written to a group of Israelites, Jewish people, I think, like 3,000 years ago. And they had just done really bad things. Like, they had done more evil than the people who were driven out of their home of modern-day Israel before them. And God actually put them there because like, the people are so bad, and you guys can do it. And now it's like, now you guys got to live because you're so bad. And the question in Kings was, is God not powerful enough? Is that why we're out of Israel? And God's like, no, you're just sinful, you know. And in Chronicles, the question is, the Israelites are actually back, and they're coming back from exile. And now the question is, does God still love us? He disobeyed. I mean, in Isaiah, it's really clear. It says, I've divorced you. In Hosea, it's like, hey, Hosea, have a son and name him not my son, because Israel is not my son. And have a wife and say, she is not my wife, because you are no longer my wife. It was very clear, very explicit that God was done because of their sin. But he actually wasn't. He wasn't. The Israelites humbled themselves. And in Chronicles 7:14 it says, my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. I will hear from heaven. I will heal their land. I will forgive them of their iniquities. The theme of this passage, while it's intense about all the bad things that have happened, the theme of this passage is forgiveness. It's how God will respond. The passage also very clearly explains our sinful condition. Now we're like, Asherah and Baal and altars and Old Testament, blah, 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 forget. I don't want to read it. Well, it's interesting when you look at the cultural context. I actually wasn't sure if this could apply. I was like, I don't know what Baal is. Anyway, some cultural context things. Baal is a god, and it was like named Lord. And if you were seeking out Baal, you were seeking out a god of power and justice. And so Manasseh has this need for power and justice, and he's like, look at all the bad things that are happening, God's not working, I'm going to do my own thing. And you're like, no, God's not working, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to worship Baal. So if you're seeking power and justice, you're like Manasseh, you're worshiping Baal. Now Asherah, interesting, Asherah is the goddess of fertility and agriculture, a.k.a. Manasseh is like, I need food and intimacy. Like I want sexual intimacy, I want to feel loved. hearts just depend on God, goes his own way. Third way you see he's worshiping the stars. This doesn't connect to us at first. But if you're worshiping the stars, what you're really looking for is you're looking to know the future. Have you guys ever in this room been like, I'm going to graduate? No. Yeah, no one's asked that question. No one's worshiped the stars here, okay. I worshiped the stars this morning, okay, people? I didn't mean to. But I have an uncertain future that we all do, right? If we are unfaithful to God, we're going to turn to the stars like Manasseh did. My point is very simple. There's Manasseh in us. We saw Manasseh. He looks really bad. Put my name in there. It actually even says, here's some crazy things. It even says God spoke to him. Has God ever just spoken to you in his word? And he just disobeyed. Okay, if God just spoke to me audibly, I'm good. God, just tell me what to do. No, please don't. I'm going to disobey. Manasseh disobeyed. And the necromancers and the sorcerers, that's kind of weird. We don't do that. We play D&D. I never have. I've been tempted. It looks really fun. But, if you're doing sorcery, it's actually, the origin of the word is pharmacy, which means they would try to control people with drugs. Have you guys ever wanted to control someone's opinion of you? No? Yeah, you bet. She has people! Have a bad opinion of her! No, just kidding. So. They'll never come again. I'm sorry. And we all have searched for people's approval. We're all like Manasseh in many ways. We just aren't in charge of the kingdom at the age of 12. And when our hormones are raging, we don't have the whole harem. And when we want to buy things, we don't have an infinite piggy bank, But if we were Manasseh, it's not really that far to say I would do that. So, my first point is just really, guys, see the Manasseh. We've all got it. Whether you know Jesus or you don't, the Manasseh is strong. We are unfaithful. Our gratification is delayed, and we move to something else. But something interesting happens. God does what we would expect in the Old Testament to do, right? What does he do? Brings down the rest. He's like, I'm done with Manasseh. And what does he do? He puts a hook in his nose. If you got a hook in your nose, can you do what you want? You're like, oh, let's rip it out. Some of you guys are like, I would rip it out. You are wrong. You just go wherever someone tells you. That is what you do if you have a hook in your nose. They had chains on his hands. Bronze chain. Interesting bronze thing. You ever see bronze in the Bible? It means it's passive judgment because tin and copper are combined. So he's passed through. Yeah. That's a good one. And I know from video games. So that's a black stick. And he's passed through judgment. So really, Manasseh is just being judged right now. This is just the reality. He's being judged. And in his deepest moment, you're like, God, now it's time to kill him. No. He greatly humbles himself, it says, and he prays and repents, and God is moved. Moved happens somewhere else in the Bible. It's in Matthew 9. When Jesus looks on crowds and he says, he saw that they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Compassion, moved deep in your stomach, your bowels, you just ache. You want to cry, but you can't. It hurts too much. You're just going to do something because you care. That's God. That's God to Manasseh. Guys, he burned his sons. Can you imagine having children? Burning your sons? If you burned your sons, this is what it means. This is what it means. To Molech, he was the king. That's what his name meant. And if you burned your sons, it was propitiation for yourself. It was payment for yourself. He said, I want to live so bad, I'll kill my sons.
This is how bad Manasseh was. And God was moved in love for him. He had compassion, and he forgave him. He doesn't only forgive him. The passage says he restores him. He becomes king again. That's offensive. Did any of you make Manasseh king? Is that plan A? No. It's like, we need a plan B. He restores him. When you humble yourself and you're forgiven, it's gone. It's gone. You're restored. Because you know what God knows that we know? He knows that we're harassed and helpless. He knows our hearts, guys. He knows the things that happened in our life that made us the way we are today. He understands and identifies with our weakness. God really knows us. And while he will judge us despite these things, if we humble ourselves, oh, he'll forgive. He will. He will. If I were to sum up this passage, I would say, God reveals himself as compassionate and forgiving despite our unfaithfulness and wickedness, so that we can know him. At the end of the passage, after he humbles himself, it says, and Manasseh knew that the Lord was God. Then Manasseh knew that the Lord was God. And look how he responds. He gets back, he's a king. He's thinking, not Manasseh, don't restore Manasseh. Well, look what Manasseh does. He builds walls. He protects the people of Israel from attack and slavery. He does more than that. He builds altars. He rips down the other altars. He says, I am no longer going to search for power in Baal, because there is power in Jesus and God in that area. He's like, he tears down the veils of justice. I trust that even though bad things have happened to us, God will bring ultimate justice in the day of the Lord. He says, I'm going to rip down these altars to control of other people, the approval of other people's opinions, because I trust my future to the Lord. When you made an altar, this is what you were doing. You're doing two things. You were saying what you would sacrifice for your God, and you were saying who he was. And Manasseh says, I sacrifice everything. And this is who he is. So let's apply this directly to our lives as best we can. Yeah. No? Yes. Really? Is that the right one? Is that one before that? Oh, yeah, you're cool. Okay, will you see God as he truly is? As he reveals himself to us in the passage. This is a quote from James Sire at the Universe Next Door. There is but one living and true God, who is infinite in being and perfection, a most pure spirit, invisible, without body, parts, or passions, immutable, immense, eternal, incomprehensible, almighty, most wise, most holy, most free, most absolute, working all things according to the counsel of his own immutable and most righteous will for his own glory, most loving, gracious, merciful, long-suffering, abundant in goodness and truth, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. The rewarder of them is that diligently seek him, and with all most just and terrible in his judgments, hating all sin, and who will by no means favor. When you see God, who he is. Next. Will you respond to God as compassionate and forgiving? And the real solution to your needs, like Manasseh. How does God fulfill our ultimate longing? Is anyone here not asking that question? Like, why am I lonely? Why do I struggle in pregnancy? Why am I blind? How does God fulfill our longing? He does so in many ways, by being the perfect fit for our very nature. By satisfying our longing for interpersonal relationship, by being in his omniscience, the end to our search for knowledge, by being in his infinite being, the refuge from all fear, by being